Sometimes it's nice to play a huge AAA production of a game that you can sink weeks of your life into, and sometimes it's nice to play something a little bit janky that a few people with a passion made on their own. Enter Easy Red 2, an indie-produced World War II battle simulator by Corvo Studios that takes place in the Pacific and Mediterranean theaters of war, with Normandy, the French Liberation, Tunisia, and others being available via DLC. The core of the game are large-scale reenactments of historic World War II battles, and it does a solid job of that. First-person world interaction is serviceable, while third-person gets a little clunky. I do, however, greatly appreciate the option to switch, because in big firefights, third-person always feels pretty awesome and allows you to get a wider look at the battlefield to direct your squad with. Guns are fairly responsive, and the environment feels good hitting your eyes. Sound design isn't bad, and the mixing for the artillery and anti-tank guns makes them feel big and beefy as they drown out the surrounding gunfire and calls for support. This really hits you with a little bit of the vibe that BF 1942 had, just jumping in and blowing stuff up in a big-ass, historically inspired World War II arena. No fiddling around with battle passes and cosmetics, you can just sit down, boot it up, and be shooting in less than a minute. While there isn't direct loadout customization, you are always able to grab what you want off of fallen comrades, or just hold start and switch to the squad member that has your desired kit. You can always flip back to squad leader when you need to point your team in the right direction. The environmental destruction is pretty good, although a little less than cinematic. That being said, only a select few modern shooters have allowed you to totally flatten a building with a tank when there's an MG squad holdup in there preventing you from snagging the last objective. And the enemy artillery making a trench you were using as a standoff point untenable and forcing a retreat just gives you this dynamic combat feel that it seems like some developers forgot about. While I'm sure not everyone agrees, I really enjoy the lack of a kill feed. You can enable hit markers so there's some verification that you gotta hit, but there are no points popping up in your face and names streaming along in the top corners of the screen. This is one of those things that helps Hell Let Loose feel so grounded too. It's not that there's no response when getting hits or kills, there's just enough to tell you to move on to the next target without hurting immersion. While the game is primarily single player or co-op PvE, there isn't a traditional campaign. You have the opening mission for each theater unlocked and must complete it to unlock the next operation, and so on. This does give you a bit of direct progression as you unlock more missions the better you get at the game. The missions all fit into either a frontline, tug-of-war style setup, or your traditional attack and defend game modes. This doesn't hurt anything though. Maps are big, and the various weapon emplacements and fortifications allow the battles to play out a little differently when you replay a mission. Going in blind is fun on your first run, but it's super satisfying when you've played a mission before and the friendly infantry takes a different angle of attack into the town that you're invading. It's not huge, but like most of the things with this game, it's a culmination of small parts from a small developer doing a great job with limited resources and good attention to detail. Mid-video disclosure that I did buy this game because it was $9 and I had a store credit that was going to expire. That being said, I'm really enjoying this and I'm definitely going to pick up the DLC for it, since the only one I currently have is Normandy, and that one's dope. While I've mentioned Battlefield and Hell Let Loose, I don't feel like they fall into the same genre as Easy Red. Maybe this is more akin to a casual Operation Flashpoint and a World War II outfit with big nostalgia energy. It's got the relaxed arcadey nature of an early 2000s military shooter crammed into the clothes of a World War II milsim game. You can crank up the difficulty and have an absolutely punishing but rewarding experience routing defenders and calling in armored support. Or you can set it to easy, load up an MG and just get to blasting. Either way, you have some light squad mechanics that, while a bit clunky on a controller, do function pretty well, and the combat AI is pretty responsive to orders, making you feel properly in command of your fire team. Before hopping into your first mission, you can take a trip through their basic training, which allows you to get acquainted with the controls sans the threat of Nazis blowing you up.
Chest and pick up a weapon. Now that you are armed, all you have to do is reload your weapon. Great job!
Never been much of a pilot in combined arms things like this, but the arcade controls they have on the planes are pretty satisfying, and I can even make a useful strafing run or two when spawning as a pilot. Additionally, the tanks use the same squad system as the infantry, and it makes the vehicle feel more alive, which is awesome. Being in the commander's cupola, giving orders isn't something I thought would be fun in a tank, since you're typically on all of the controls at once, but I was pleasantly surprised. You can play on either side of a mission, Axis or Allies, and this adds some great replay value to the campaigns. On top of this, the dog tags the select few NPCs drop unlock special loadouts for a squad member. Only snagged a couple so far, but it is nice to add a collectible that doesn't just feel like busy work and gives you something in return. As a bit of a history buff, the Mediterranean campaign is great since it doesn't always get the attention Western Europe does in popular media, and the Normandy expansion definitely gives your brain the good happy chemicals. Artillery flying, bunkers exploding, medics running around trying to keep the waves of attackers alive. A game doesn't need the prettiest graphics in the world to give you an awesome immersive arcade experience, and this shows it. Kinda hits like a way less serious version of the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan.
Training. Stick together, and we'll make it through this in one piece.
Took a quick dip into co-op, had fun breaking the German hold on Santa Maria Iglesia with a few people. No mics, but you can tell when players are in charge of a squad by the fact that they move more actively than the NPC leaders. Very little in the way of IFF in this game, so you do have to keep an eye out for which color you're playing for. Even PvE lobbies have friendly fire enabled, and ammo is very limited, so it's important to pay attention to what you're shooting at. The player count is capped at 20, but for PvE lobbies, all 20 players being on the same team really helps the battle feel alive. Especially with bots cranked to max density, makes for some awesome casual action. Didn't encounter any other players with a mic in the couple of lobbies I hopped into, but if it's just you and a few friends on a server, party chat will treat you just fine. I do appreciate that prox chat is a thing, should I get lucky and find teammates that communicate, but we all know everyone lives in party chat and Discord nowadays. Since picking it up a couple days after release, player count has been climbing on Xbox, so I don't doubt servers will get a bit more lively, but co-op and single player are plenty to keep you entertained until that happens. While comments around this game keep saying it's a great budget alternative to various World War II shooters, I think that's a little unfair. It's a big open map shooter, but it's not ripping off Hell Let Loose. It's got squad mechanics and simple attack defend objectives, but it is not trying to be enlisted. The maps support the narrative of a World War II battle and offer some great PvE combat, but it definitely isn't making a go at the legacy of VF 1942. Easy Red 2 does an impeccable job of taking the quick access, constant nostalgic action of things like our favorite early 2000s World War II games and stuffs it into a big old battle simulator that I can't put down. Kind of blowing my mind how much content you get out of a $9 game and one $5 expansion. As a console gremlin, we get a lot of really expensive releases that I end up waiting on. It is worth noting that if you take a look at Corvo Studios' website and the previous releases they've done, you can see them getting bigger and more in-depth with their subsequent games, and I always enjoy getting to follow a small dev's climb. I'm definitely going to be playing this for a while as they continue to update and expand it, and I can't wait to see what Corvo Studios does in the future. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned to the Horizon Initiative for more gaming content and music releases.